Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. Obinna adjusted the sleeves of his faded white shirt and wiped the sweat from his brow. The bouquet of flowers he clutched trembled slightly in his hands. His heart thudded with a mixture of hope and anxiety. He had rehearsed his words 100 times in front of the cracked mirror in his mother's one-room apartment. Today he was going to prove he was worthy. The mansion loomed ahead, white walls, towering pillars, and a driveway lined with luxury cars. It was the kind of place where men like him didn't belong. Still, Obinna walked up the steps and rang the bell. The door swung open, revealing Tari, beautiful as ever. She wore a peach blouse and jeans, barefoot on the marble tiles. Her eyes lit up. "Obinna, you came." "Of course, Tari. I told you I would," he said, handing her the flowers. She took them, inhaled gently, and smiled. They stood there for a moment, their eyes locked. Obinna remembered the days they'd sit under the mango tree near his mother's stall, talking about dreams, love, and defying the odds. "Come in," she said softly, leading him through the hallway. Expensive art pieces lined the walls, and the chandelier above sparkled like stars. He felt out of place, but he kept his shoulders straight. In the living room, just as Obinna took a seat, a commanding voice echoed from the staircase. "Who is this?" Chief Damanebo descended the stairs like royalty, his agbada sweeping behind him. Gold-rimmed glasses perched on his nose. His eyes zeroed in on Obinna like a hawk. "Good evening, sir." Obinna stood and greeted, bowing slightly. The chief didn't return the gesture. Instead he looked at Tari. "Is this the mechanic you've been talking about?" "Daddy, he's not a mechanic. He's unemployed, isn't he?" Chief Damanebo cut in, his voice dripping with disdain. "You bring this charity case into my house?" Obinna's fists clenched behind his back. "Sir, with all due respect." "Respect? You come to my house wearing that threadbare shirt and dare to speak of respect? My daughter is not for roadside dreamers. Do you know who we are? Do you know what it takes to stand under this roof?" Tari looked down, clearly shaken. Obinna glanced at her, hoping for a word, a gesture, anything. But she said nothing. "Let me guess," the chief continued. "You think love conquers all, eh? That some fairy tale will let you marry into wealth? Son, this is not Nollywood." Obinna felt his dignity slipping away, but he refused to bow. He straightened up. "I may not have money today, sir. But I have ideas. I have drive. I love your daughter, and I came here to show you that." "Love doesn't pay rent," the chief roared. "Get out. And don't ever come back." Obinna turned to Tari. "Say something. Please." She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence was louder than any scream. "Tari, we said we'd fight for this." She looked at her father. "I'm sorry, Obinna." His breath caught in his throat. His hands trembled. Without another word he walked out. The sun had started to set. Obinna sat on the curb outside the mansion, staring at the withered flowers in his hand. His heart felt like it had been ripped in two. 20 minutes later, a Kiki pulled up beside him. Jide leaned out. "Guy, what'n happen? You look like you see ghost." Obinna didn't answer. "Na the chief duam?" Obinna nodded slowly. Jide sighed. "Let's go. Mama Day wait." Back at their modest home, Mama Obinna sat beside a kerosene lamp, peeling egusi. When she saw Obinna's face, she didn't ask questions. She just patted the bench beside her. He sat down. "Mama," he whispered, "I lost her." She looked at him, her voice calm. "She didn't lose you, Obinna. She lost the man who would have given her something no money could buy." Obinna looked up, tears threatening. "What do I do now?" "You rise. You build. You become so strong that next time, no one dares to call you worthless. Let your heartbreak be your hammer." Obinna sat in silence for a while, the weight of her words sinking deep into his chest. Then he stood. "I need to leave this city. I need a new beginning." Jide looked up. "You serious?" "Yes. Lagos. We start from scratch. No excuses." Mama Obinna nodded. "Then go, my son. But never forget who you are. You're Igioma's son. And you were born for more than pity." That night, Obinna packed a small bag. Just clothes, his notebook of ideas, and a cheap phone. No fanfare. No goodbyes. Only a promise whispered into the night. "I'll rise. And they'll remember the day they called me unworthy." He shut the door behind him. And so, the journey began. Obinna stood beneath the mango tree where he and Tari used to sit, waiting. She finally emerged from the mansion gate, dressed in a sleek blue gown, arms crossed tightly around herself. "Why did you call me here?" she asked quietly, avoiding his eyes. "Because I needed to know," Obinna said, trying to stay calm. "Is it really over, Tari? Or are you just scared of him?" She hesitated. "It's not just about fear. It's about reality, Obinna. My father is right." "Don't say it. Don't you dare say it," he interrupted, voice rising. "You once told me love could beat the odds. That we'd make our own future. Now, one slap from your father's words and you're giving up." She looked away, visibly shaken. "Tari, look at me. I've never asked you for money. I've only asked you to believe in me. Do you? Even a little?" She finally met his eyes and Obinna saw it, the hesitation, the fear, the heartbreak. "I do, but not enough to fight. Not against him. Not against my family." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small red box. Inside was the necklace he once gave her, a simple wooden piece carved with her initials. "Keep it," she whispered, placing it in his hand. "I can't carry it anymore." Obinna felt the ground shift beneath him. The necklace was all he had left of their dreams. "Goodbye, Obinna," she said, stepping back. He opened his mouth, but no words came. She turned and walked away, her silhouette swallowed by the gates. Rain began to fall, light at first, then heavier. Obinna didn't move. He stood there for what felt like hours until Jide came running with an umbrella. "Bro, you day mad? Come inside. You go fall sick." But Obinna just whispered, "She's gone." That night he returned home soaked to the bone. Mama Obinna brought him hot pepper soup and sat beside him. "Mama, I gave her everything. And it still wasn't enough." She nodded slowly. "Then give the world something it can't ignore. Give them you, at your highest. Let this be your goodbye to weakness." Obinna wiped his face and looked at her. "I'm leaving Port Harcourt tomorrow. Me and Jide. Lagos. We'll figure something out." She placed her hand on his. "Then go, my son. Build your name where no one knows it. And come back when it echoes louder than theirs." The Lagos air hit different. It was louder, faster, ruthless. Obinna and Jide rented a single-room apartment in Surulere, with broken windows and peeling walls. Their mattress lay on the floor beside a second-hand table. They shared a borrowed laptop from a cousin and ate EBA with palm oil for dinner. "This is the beginning," Jide said one night, mouth full. "Two kings in a palace of dust." Obinna smiled faintly. Every night he scribbled ideas into his notebook. His latest obsession, a logistics app for small market traders. Something that would bring tech to the streets his mother once sold vegetables on. They named it Swiftcart. Day after day they visited local shops, market stalls and roadside vendors pitching their idea. "Madam, if people can order your Gary through phone, you go sell more. We go help you deliver it same day," Obinna would say, waving a flyer. Some ignored them. Some laughed. Others listened. But when they went to pitch to investors, the laughter got louder. "Your UI is poor. No traction. Come back when you're real," one investor said, sipping cappuccino. "Logistics? From Surulere boys? You're joking." They were kicked out of rooms, their PowerPoint mocked. But they didn't stop. "We don't need them yet," Obinna told Jide one night. "We just need one person who sees the vision. One." And then she walked in. Zainab had presence. She didn't enter rooms, she claimed them. When she walked into their makeshift office, just a co-working space in Yaba, Obinna stood quickly. "Good afternoon, Ma. Thank you for agreeing to meet." She removed her sunglasses slowly. "I've heard 10 pitches today. You've got 10 minutes to prove you're different." Jide set up the laptop. Obinna breathed deeply. "Swiftcart is for every woman who wakes at 5 a.m. to hustle at the market, but loses customers because she can't meet demand. It's for every youth with a bike who can earn from delivery. We're not here to serve the elite, we're here to level the ground." Zainab raised an eyebrow. "Show me numbers." Obinna clicked to the next slide. "We've onboarded 22 vendors manually in 1 month. Average 7 orders daily, 0 marketing. We only need funding to automate and scale." She leaned back. "Why do you care so much?" "Because my mother was one of them," Obinna said. "This app would have changed her life." Zainab nodded slowly. "You've got spirit," she said. "But spirit isn't profit. Here's my offer, I give you seed capital. You prove the model in 3 months. If you don't, I walk. Deal?" Obinna extended his hand. "Deal." Zainab didn't smile. "Don't waste my money." With Zainab's funding they printed banners, bought 2 used delivery bikes, and hired 2 unemployed graduates. Every morning Obinna and Jide hit the streets onboarding more vendors. They promised zero commission for the first 30 days and posted every success story online. One evening, a grateful mama recorded a TikTok video. These boys helped me deliver Accra to customers in 3 areas. Now so I sell finished by 9 a.m. God bless Swift Cart. The video exploded. Orders surged. Within 2 weeks, 150 new vendors signed up. Obinna hardly slept, answering calls, debugging the app and rushing to fix server glitches. Jide handled customer service with 2 phones glued to his ears. Zainab returned unannounced. She stood in their crowded space watching bikes roll out and traders coming in. Not bad, she muttered. You doubled projections. You've earned another round. She wrote a check on the spot. That night, Obinna stood on their building's rooftop and stared at the skyline. Jide joined him, holding malt drinks. Guy, we day inside now. You see him? Obinna smiled. We're not inside yet. But they're starting to hear the door knock. Obinna adjusted his microphone and cleared his throat. The hall was filled with developers, investors, and tech enthusiasts. A large banner behind him read, Africa Rising, Disrupting Traditional Logistics. This was the first time Swiftcart had been invited to speak at a major tech conference. His palms were sweaty, but he channeled the nerves into fire. We didn't start Swiftcart to impress venture capitalists. We started it because we were tired of watching our mothers struggle to sell plantain. Applause. Jide gave him a thumbs up from the crowd. As Obinna stepped down from the podium, his eyes locked with someone in the back row. Tari. She looked older, sharper. She wore a navy pantsuit and a Damanabo Group name tag. Her face was unreadable. Later, in the networking area, she approached him. Obinna. He turned calm. Tari. It's been a while. She smiled faintly. I didn't realize Swiftcart was your company. And I didn't expect to see you here either. There was a pause. You spoke well, she said. Thanks, he replied. So, working with your father still? She nodded. He's struggling with the logistics arm. We're trying to rebrand. Obinna said nothing. She picked up a brochure from the Swiftcart table and read it. You really built all this? From scratch. With Jide. And one borrowed laptop. She exhaled. I'm glad you didn't let that night destroy you. Obinna smiled. Sometimes destruction clears space for foundations. They said goodbye. She walked away. That night, Tari sat with her father at dinner. That Swiftcart guy, the founder, is Obinna. Chief Damanabo nearly dropped his spoon. Which Obinna? The one from Port Harcourt. The one the cleaner's son? She nodded slowly. Nonsense. A man like that doesn't build a company. He must have foreign backers. But inside, Chief Damanabo's stomach churned. Something told him this wasn't the last time he'd hear Obinna's name. Back at Damanabo Group HQ, chaos brewed. The company's once booming logistics division was leaking clients at an alarming rate. Reports landed on Chief Damanabo's desk daily. 15 long-term clients had migrated to Swiftcart. Delivery delays were up 23%. 2 warehouses stood unused. The chief summoned his board. We must investigate this Swiftcart. Find out who owns it, who backs it, buy it or destroy it. He didn't like competition, especially not from a boy he once tossed out of his home. Meanwhile, Obinna and Jide monitored Damanabo's decline quietly. Zainab walked into their office one morning with a file. This is your chance. Their logistics arm is failing. Word is, they're preparing to sell. Obinna didn't hesitate. We buy it. Through shell companies. Zainab raised a brow. You're playing smart. No, Obinna said. I'm playing silent. Let them sell us the key to their own empire. Within weeks, an offer was drafted. Damanabo Group believed the buyer was a European logistics consortium. Tempted by the cash, Chief Damanabo signed. And unknowingly sold the crown jewel of his company to Obinna. A board meeting was called to introduce the new owners. The room was full of executives, lawyers, and confused whispers. Chief Damanabo stood at the head of the table. We welcome our new partners from Europologics today. Obinna entered, flanked by Zainab and Jide. The room fell into stunned silence. Tari's glass slipped from her hand. Chief Damanabo's face drained of color. You? Obinna gave a respectful nod. Good afternoon, sir. This is a mistake. This is fraud. Zainab spoke. All legal. All papers signed. You sold. We bought. Obinna stepped forward. I now own 49% of Damanabo Logistics. I plan to make it better. I'm not here to destroy. But Chief Damanabo wasn't listening. He stormed out, humiliated. Tari remained seated, eyes locked on Obinna. For the first time, the man they dismissed was at their table. Obinna addressed the board. We won't fire anyone. But inefficiency won't be tolerated. Our mission, restore this company, and modernize it. Executives nodded, some reluctantly. Tari approached him after the meeting. You didn't have to do this. I didn't do it for revenge, he replied. I did it to build. Why didn't you tell me it was you at the negotiation table? Would it have changed anything? She paused. Maybe. Obinna turned away. Then I'm glad I didn't. In the weeks that followed, Obinna launched reforms. Outdated trucks were auctioned. New software streamlined inventory. Staff retrained. His quiet leadership began earning respect. But Chief Damanabo was far from done. Media outlets exploded with headlines. Cleaner's son buys elite conglomerate. Swiftcart founder outpaces giants. Chief Damanabo summoned his connections. He tried. Paying journalists to smear Obinna. Threatening regulators. Planting fake lawsuits. Obinna remained silent, but strategic. Zainab handled legal fire. Jide managed staff loyalty. Obinna focused on results. One evening the board called a vote. An anonymous poll. Should Obinna remain interim head of logistics? 12 votes cast. It said yes. Obinna stayed. Tari found him on the rooftop the night the vote results came. You could have crushed him. But you didn't. I'm not like him, Obinna replied. Then who are you? He looked at the skyline. The son of a cleaner. And the man rewriting his own story. The walls of Damanabo Group vibrated with tension. Chief Damanabo was not done. He called in favors from powerful allies, some in government, some in the press. Every day new headlines emerged. Swiftcart accused of data theft. Damanabo Logistics faces corporate espionage allegations. Obinna kept his composure. He met with legal teams. Zainab brought in crisis managers. Jide worked double to keep morale high. Then came the internal sabotage. Fake invoices. Deleted files. Bribe staff. Obinna called a board meeting. Someone in this company is actively trying to collapse us from within, he said firmly. Chief Damanabo sat smugly. Have you proof? He challenged. Zainab handed out documents. Surveillance footage. Email trails. It leads to a former executive, placed by the chief. Gasps filled the room. This isn't a company anymore, the chief barked. It's a playground for amateurs. Obinna stood slowly. I may be young, but I respect what this company used to be. What it stood for. I'm not fighting you for power, I'm fighting for survival. The board voted to suspend the chief's influence in day-to-day operations. He left the room broken. News broke the next day. Chief Damanabo steps down as CEO. Obinna didn't celebrate. He simply returned to work. He led by showing up early, answering calls himself and training junior staff. Tari knocked on his office door one evening. Can we talk? He gestured for her to sit. I'm sorry, she began, eyes moist. For not standing up for you. For leaving you when you needed someone to believe in you. Obinna listened in silence. You built what we used to dream about. Alone. He sighed. You didn't know me forever, Tari. But silence when I needed a voice, that's what hurt most. She reached out, but he didn't take her hand. I'll always be grateful for what we shared, he added. But some mistakes plant trees you can't uproot. She nodded slowly. I understand. They sat for a while, letting the silence say what words couldn't. Obinna called for a staff-wide event. No flashy suits. No titles. Just people. He stood on stage with his mother's old hand-woven wrapper in his hand. My mother cleaned this building once. She mopped these floors while the world looked through her. Today we honor every worker whose name is never known. He announced a new policy. Full medical cover for all staff. Free vocational training for junior employees. Online his speech went viral. The cleaner's son who bought a dynasty. People across the nation shared his story. Obinna became a symbol of possibility. Mama Obinna watched it on a neighbor's TV, tears in her eyes. My son has truly arrived, she whispered. One Friday evening Obinna received a handwritten note. Dinner? Just us. To talk. Tari. He debated it, then agreed. She chose a quiet restaurant, soft lighting and no reporters. She arrived in a modest dress, no designer labels, no entourage. Over grilled fish and juice she opened up. I used to think love came easy when you had money. But now I know love comes from choosing, every day, even when it's hard. Obinna nodded. Money just makes bad decisions look better. They laughed. She reached across the table. I never stopped caring. I believe you, he said. But believing doesn't rebuild broken things. Silence settled. As they stood to leave, Tari said, even if we never go back, thank you, for not becoming bitter. He smiled. Thank you, for becoming better. They hugged. Brief but warm. The office was quiet late one evening. Zainab stepped into Obina's glass-walled space. You're making history, you know, she said. I'm just trying to keep the lights on. She chuckled, then her expression turned serious. Obina, is all this about proving them wrong? Or proving yourself right? He paused. I don't know anymore. Then find out, she said. Because if you don't, you'll build empires and still feel empty. That night, Obina walked to his mother's grave. He knelt down, brushing away weeds. I did it, Mama. But I don't know if I did it right. He sat there till dawn. The next morning he returned with a fresh purpose in his eyes. Obina stood before a small group of interns and junior staff, mostly from modest backgrounds. On the whiteboard behind him he wrote 2 words, Igioma Initiative. This isn't just a CSR program, he began. This is our legacy. He unveiled the plan, a full scholarship and mentorship pipeline for young people from rural areas, focused on business, logistics, and technology. Priority would be given to women and marginalized youth. We're not building another boardroom. We're building bridges. His staff clapped. Zainab watched from the doorway. Now you're doing it for the right reasons, she said later. Obina smiled. It's time others had a seat at the table without having to beg for it. He appointed 3 young women to senior roles in logistics and tech development. He didn't just talk about inclusion. He implemented it. At a press conference, a reporter asked, "Why name it after your mother?" Obina replied, "Because she never had access to rooms like this. But her strength built the man who does." That night, his mother's framed photo hung on his office wall. Months passed. Tari watched Obina from afar, not as a lover but as someone inspired. She walked into her father's old office, cleared the bookshelf and handed in her resignation letter. I want to do something real, she told the board. She launched a nonprofit called Rise Her, focused on empowering girls in rural schools with digital tools and confidence training. The first donation came from Swiftcart. She called Obina. Don't worry, I won't make it awkward, she laughed. I just wanted to say thank you. You're doing good work, he said genuinely. Your own work, not your father's shadow. They met once again at a youth summit, both invited to speak. Tari spoke passionately about courage. Obina spoke about resilience. They didn't sit next to each other, but they smiled from across the room. Later that night, Jide teased him. Still feelings there? Obina shook his head. Some stories don't need a sequel. Just a respectful ending. He meant it. Obina stood on stage at the African Business Awards in a black suit stitched by a local tailor. The MC called his name. African Innovator of the Year, Obina Igioma for bridging technology and tradition. Cameras flashed. He took the stage humbled. I wasn't born into power, he said. I was born into struggle. But struggle teaches innovation. And love teaches leadership. The audience rose in applause. From the second row, Tari clapped with pride. Zainab gave a rare smile. Mama Obina's photo appeared on the screen behind him. After the ceremony, reporters surrounded him. Did you ever imagine this? One asked. Obina paused. No. I only imagined surviving. Thriving was a bonus. That night, he walked alone to a quiet part of the city and sat by a food vendor's stall. He ordered akara and pap just like his mother used to make. When the vendor served him, she asked, You look familiar. You're that big man ABI? He smiled. I'm just Igioma's son. Chief Damanebo sat in his private lounge, alone. The flat-screen TV played a rerun of Obina's award speech, but the sound was off. He wasn't watching the video, he was watching the silence around him. For decades, this house had been filled with guests, allies, and staff who bowed when he walked past. Now, only the faint hum of an old ceiling fan remained. His name, once synonymous with dominance, had faded into background noise. He turned off the TV and stood, wincing slightly at the ache in his knees. Age had caught up faster than pride. On the shelf, he kept files of everyone he once admired. He reached for one labeled Igioma, Obina's mother. Old records. Salary slips. A disciplinary warning for missing work after her husband's funeral. He held the file and shook his head. The cleaner's son. There was a knock at the door. His butler entered quietly and handed him an envelope. No stamp. Just a name in neat handwriting. Chief Damanebo. He opened it and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Thank you for the lesson. You taught me what power should not look like. And now I know what it must become. Obinna. There was no venom in the words. Just truth. Chief Damanabo read it again. And again. Then slowly walked to his desk. He wrote back. You won, Obinna. Not just the company, but the war of meaning. I will not ask for your forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I acknowledge you. You are what I could not become. He folded the letter but didn't send it. He placed it in a box labeled for Tari. Meanwhile, across the city, Obinna sat in a classroom, barely air-conditioned, watching a group of young girls present business ideas. One girl stammered while explaining a mobile beauty salon business. Her hands trembled. Obinna smiled. You're doing great. What's your name? Oluchi, she replied. And why do you want to do this? My mama never had time for herself. Always working. I want to give women time to feel beautiful again. The room clapped. Obinna nodded. You'll go far, Oluchi. He left the room heart full. Jide met him at the car. You still come to these trainings yourself? Jide asked, handing him coconut water. Always, Obinna said. These girls remind me of my mother. They're the future. Jide nodded. By the way, you have a message. From Tari. Obinna raised a brow. It wasn't romantic. Just a scanned letter from her father. Obinna read the words carefully. A quiet breath left his chest. He folded the letter and placed it in his pocket. Later that night, he sat with Zainab on the rooftop of their headquarters. The city lights twinkled beneath them. You've changed, she said. I've learned, he replied. What now, she asked. Obinna stared into the distance. We go international. Not to dominate but to collaborate. Africa has more Obinnas. More Igiomas. I want the world to meet them. Zainab raised her glass. To bloodlines not owning greatness. They clinked glasses. Far from the beginning. But nowhere near the end. The rooftop of the Damanabo building was quiet that morning. The city below buzzed like a restless hive, cars honking, vendors shouting, buses roaring, but up here it was peaceful. Obinna stood near the edge, watching the sun rise through Lagos' hazy skyline. The wind tousled his neatly trimmed hair. Jide stepped out of the stairwell behind him, holding 2 cups of steaming coffee. You still love rooftops, huh? Jide said, handing him one. Obinna nodded, sipping. They remind me where I started. And how far I've come. They stood in silence, letting the city stretch beneath them. Jide smiled. You ever imagine this? Owning this place? The same building your mother used to clean? Obinna chuckled. Not in my wildest dreams. But I imagine leaving a mark. I just didn't know it would be this one. He turned and looked at the tall glass-paneled logo behind them. Damanabo Group, now merged with Swiftcart Global. The board had voted unanimously to make him Group CEO 2 weeks ago. The news had trended globally. From cleaner's son to conglomerate king. Obinna Igioma named Group CEO. But titles didn't change him. They only magnified his purpose. He walked over to the final corner office that had remained untouched since the transition. The plaque read, Chief Damanabo, Group Chairman. It had been left as a gesture of honor. Obinna turned the knob, stepped inside, and placed a simple brown envelope on the desk. Inside it was the letter Chief Damanabo had written, the one Obinna had never replied to. He added a note. Your words mattered. I am the man I am today partly because you told me I couldn't be. Obinna. He closed the office door quietly behind him. Later that afternoon, a town hall meeting was held on the ground floor. Staff gathered, investors tuned in remotely, and even the media had cameras aimed at the stage. Obinna took the mic. He wore a traditional agbada, navy blue, stitched with his mother's initials on the sleeve. When I was younger, someone told me I wasn't worthy to stand beneath this roof. Today I stand not just beneath it, but above it, because I chose not to believe them. He turned to the employees seated. This company is no longer built on bloodlines. It is built on merit, heart, and grit. Whether you're the janitor or the chief engineer, your seat matters. He turned to the screens. To the children watching, you don't have to inherit greatness. You can build it. Thunderous applause. After the speech, a young woman approached him, eyes wide. Sir, I just started as a receptionist. I watched your story go viral. I told my parents I'd work here even if they didn't pay me. Obinna smiled. You're getting paid. And promoted if you keep speaking that boldly. She laughed, teary-eyed. In the crowd, Tari stood with the Rise Her team. She didn't approach Obinna this time. She didn't need to. Their eyes met. They smiled. There was peace. Later in the evening, Zainab, Jide, and Obina gathered in the executive lounge. "So you've got it all now," Zainab said, swirling her drink. "A billion-dollar company. Awards. The seat of power. What's next?" Obina looked out the window. "Building more seats. And making sure no one has to break themselves to earn one." Zainab raised a brow. "Still the sentimental warrior." Jide added, "He's not a warrior. He's a gardener now, planting trees where they once built gates." Obina smiled. "I like that." He stood. "Gentlemen. Lady. I have one last thing to do today." That night he returned to Port Harcourt. No cameras. No entourage. He walked through the old market where Mama Igioma once sold ugu leaves. It had changed. But the spirit was still alive. He found the old vendor beside the mango tree. A gray-haired woman selling roasted corn. "You again?" she said, squinting. Obina bowed his head respectfully. "Still standing strong, Mama?" She smiled. "Nah, God." He bought all her corn. "Why you day do this?" she asked. He smiled. "Because once upon a time I had nothing. And someone like you helped me eat. Now it's my turn to give." He left her a card. Igioma Initiative, Full Vendor Support Program. Obina ended the day back in his childhood home. The walls still held faded posters, his mother's calendar, and a mirror that barely reflected. He sat on the bed and exhaled. Jide called. "Boss. You good?" "Yeah," Obina replied. "Just needed to remember." "Remember what?" "That the final seat isn't the corner office. It's the seat in your soul where peace finally sits." He hung up. Outside the crickets chirped. Inside Obina closed his eyes. And smiled. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.